What's up, nerds? It's Rick Swift of the Film Grouch Show, and I'm joined today by my lovely wife and my son. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, people.
Hi, this is Madison Swift.
Hi, I'm Raphael, and I'm here on the Film Grouch Show.
And we're joined by Jigglypuff!
Yeah, you can't really hear him that well, but we hear him all the time.
He's
Trust
there.
me, he is definitely there. He's there all the time. He's always there.
He's always watching you.
Now, I thought it was interesting in the notes it said that the Jigglypuff was a she. I don't know if that means anything or not.
Well, why don't we say what movie we're talking about?
Oh, I guess we should probably talk about what movie we're talking about.
Detective Pikachu.
Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Yes. This is 2019's Ryan Reynolds and somebody Smith. No
Justice Smith?
Justice. I was going to say Justin, and that didn't sound right. Yeah, Justice Smith and Ryan Reynolds does the voice work for Pikachu. When I first saw the, not trailer, the teaser, the little image that Ryan Reynolds posted on Twitter, I thought it was a joke. It wasn't like April Fool's or anything like that, though, so I was like, what is this? This can't be real. And it was real, and I shared it with you, and we had a conversation about how amazing it could possibly be because we're huge Deadpool fans.
So much, in fact, that I incorporated Deadpool quotes into my wedding vows.
This is true.
Wait, you guys actually did that?
Yes, I did. You didn't know because you're not old enough to watch Deadpool.
Well, we did let him watch the new one, the Once Upon a Deadpool, because we had already watched it. We'd already watched the second one, and so I knew what to expect.
Yes, and they did water it down. It was rated PG-13, I believe.
PG-13. And, I mean, there was still some stuff where I was like, oh, but, I mean, you know, at least we had seen it before, so we knew kind of what to expect. And they did a really good job with Fred Savage throwing in the whole Princess Bride tie-in, which was really funny how they did it.
Yes.
But that's not the movie we're talking about. We're talking about Pikachu. So, let's, want me to talk about the plot a little bit?
Yes, please.
All right, I'll talk about the plot. So, the plot, basically, to Detective Pikachu is that there's this super kind of,
The guy who found Pokemon, he's, like, super, like, old and he's trying to find a cure for his cancer.
Yeah, but I was going to say there's like a genetically created Pokemon, basically, or something. I don't know.
Well, no, it's a fossil. It's a Pokemon brought back through the fossils, like a very old Pokemon that was brought back. Fossils is what they said.
Ah, so it was like Jurassic Park. So you didn't catch
so
that.
they grabbed they've grabbed its ancient fossils and like remade it.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they showed that everything is like going back to like old civilization, Egypt even, and everything, where Pokemon have always been around. Like, that's just kind of like a thing in this universe. They've just always been around, so I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, the Mewtwo is the
strongest Pokemon in all of Pokemon.
No, the Mewtwo, I was going to say, is the one that they have, like, tried to clone or whatever. They captured it or something. I don't know.
They captured its fossils and then remade it.
Right. So, anyway, the Mewtwo is, like, chasing after a car in the opening sequence, and we don't know exactly what's going on. We just know, like, it has escaped, and it looks, like, really pissed off, and it's like, I'm gonna get somebody in that car. And then the car, like, flips over, and then it, like, cuts to, you see Tim. Tim is who
our main character,
Justice Smith, is playing, and he's there with his buddy, not Pindar.
Dopinder.
Not Dopinder. That's not his name.
Oh, his name in real life is Karan Sony.
Yeah, Karan Sony.
I think that's how you say it. I don't know. But his character's name in this movie was Jack.
Yeah, Jack. Okay, so he's hanging out in the field with Jack.
But he also plays the taxi driver from the Deadpool movies.
Yeah, that's Dopinder.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I say. So he's in this movie for, like, only in the opening sequence, pretty much, and you kind of get the idea that he is hunting Pokemon, or he's trying to get his friend Tim to hunt Pokemon again, because he hasn't hunted Pokemon in forever, because after his mom died, when he was probably about 11 years old, his mom died, and he never really was into Pokemon again, and there's a reason for that, which we'll get into in a minute.
What's important about that is every human has a Pokemon companion.
Except for him.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, there's probably a few like disgruntled jerks that don't like any, but yeah, I mean,
In the
generally
story.
speaking, in this world,
Yes.
everybody is kind of paired up, which I thought was interesting because I'm like, who would I pair up with? Like, if you only have like one Pokemon to pair up, because I look at my Pokemon Go app and I have a bunch. I have like almost 400. Which one would I like pair with? Like, that's your buddy for life,
Right, because we're always switching for different reasons.
right?
So, which one would you guys pick, though?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that yet.
Okay,
We'll get into that.
well,
We'll get into
we'll do
that
that at
later.
the end. We'll do that at the
Yeah.
end.
But I want to talk about, but I guess before we get into the plot a little bit, let's talk about our background with Pokemon. So for me, I hated Pokemon. I thought it was so dumb. I would always see TV and commercials for it and stuff like that, and I'd be like, this looks so dumb. And then South Park did a whole bit about it where they made fun of it. Chin Pokemon, ah! And I was like, this is the greatest episode ever because this show is so dumb. And then I was a giant, big hypocrite because when Pokemon Go came out, I was like, this is stupid, but I was so... like the concept of like these little creatures in your world digitally, because they're all just like ones and zeros, and I have this weird theory about so like ones and zeros, and they're actually around you and you can't see them, and I mean obviously it's not real, but it was just kind of interesting to me that you could take pictures of them and you could see them in your world and you had to capture them, and I've been saying for years it would be cool if they did something that I actually liked using this engine, and now they're going to be doing Harry Potter, which I'm really, really, really excited about that because we're huge Harry Potter fans. But yeah,
Yeah, I didn't really know much about Pokemon before Pokemon Go. I knew enough about it through nerd osmosis to know about Pikachu and various other Pokemon, but I didn't really get into it until Pokemon Go.
but your brother is a huge Pokemon fan, even back
Yes.
to like the 90s.
Yes,
like when
he's
they first
always
came
been
out.
into it. Yes,
And he still he schools us on all the good
Yes, he
stuff
does.
with the Pokemon Go.
yes. So do you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you collect the cards, right?
Yeah.
And you have
And
some
I
books?
watched all the series, and I also have some books.
Yeah. So you and I watched some of them together. We watched
Yep.
Pokemon XY, right?
Yeah, with Hoopo.
Yes.
There's
and we watched
literally a
that movie.
Pokeball right by your left foot right
Yes.
now in the room. So yeah, I guess I would say I got converted, and now I think they're cool because especially when they evolve and everything like that. What?
And we did a birthday party for you, a Pokemon birthday party.
Oh yeah, with like Pokégo stop.
Yeah, we made
things.
Pokestops,
Yes.
and I made a pretty epic piñata.
That was a Pokeball.
Yes, the Pokeball, and I made it so thick that we needed my brother to bash it.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah, it was
so
pretty
thick
thick.
that
Whoops!
You worked on that for a long time.
Yeah.
We could not wear blindfolds. We
No.
could not hit that thing so hard.
I just wanted it to hold all the candy.
Yeah, and in doing so, it did its job a bit too well.
Yes,
Well,
it
you and
did.
your brother did a really good job because you went and you got like these foam circles, and
Yes.
you put them on a wire, and so you could literally spin the
Yes.
Pokestop. It was really cool. We had him in the
Yes.
backyard, and Raphael had a few of his friends over, and it was really cool. You had you all had Pokemon Bingo.
Yep.
You did that, so we did all sorts of cool stuff like that with
Yes.
Pokemon. So I like them. They've grown on me, not
Yeah.
literally, because that would be painful.
That'd be odd.
Yeah, that would be weird.
But we'll get at the end. We will maybe have to come up with who our paired our Pokemon. I know. Yeah, I can tell what yours is right away because it's sitting right next to
Yeah,
you.
it's sitting right next to her.
All right, so let me go back into the plot a little bit. So it had this to me. If you've ever seen the movie Daryl, that's kind of the way Daryl starts off. There's this escape from a facility, and then there's this car chase, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like Daryl, but then it doesn't have anything really to do with Daryl when you get into the plot. So you find out that Tim is like a loner. He doesn't want any Pokemon. His buddy's like, hey, I'm going to be going out of town, and you're an insurance agent, and you kind of have a horrible life as an insurance guy, and you have no friends.
So sad.
You got no Pokemon.
Yes, so
Yeah.
sad.
And then to make Tim's life even worse, he gets 5 texts while he was out, and it turns out that his dad was killed in a fiery wreck. And, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that was probably the wreck that you saw at the beginning of the movie.
Are we gonna explain the scene with the little
Get closer.
bone thrower, the bone throwing little man?
Oh, we can talk about the Cubone. Yeah, so what they're doing is they're trying to catch the Cubone, and he insults the Cubone so bad that the Cubone actually attacks him. He throws his little bone at him. And if you know anything about the Cubone, and you probably don't if you're not a Pokemon fan, but if you are a Pokemon fan, you know that the Cubone's mother died, and he wears the skull of his mother on his head, and he cries all the time. It's like, I remember reading that.
Sad.
Because, they all have their own little descriptions, and when you read Cubone, you're like, oh my god, that is twisted, man. And even when he evolves, he still has the bone of his mom, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, that is Oh, you're gonna read it?
Cubone pines for the mother it will never see again. Seeing a likeness of its mother in the full moon, it cries. The stains on the skull the Pokemon wears are made by the tears it sheds.
Yeah, and so and Tim's mom died of cancer when he was 11, so that's why Dopinder or whatever Jack is like, this is like the perfect Pokemon for you. You really need to catch him. He is your Pokemon for obvious reasons.
But at least he is not a Cubone and wears some other skull.
No, he definitely doesn't do that.
That would be
weird.
I think if you did that in real life, you might get arrested. I don't know if that's breaking any laws, but
they probably put you in an insane asylum.
Hey, any cops out there, if like somebody died in your family and you decided to wear their skull on your face, is that against the law? Just get back to us. I'd love to know that.
Yeah.
Not for any reason personally, just kind of curious.
Just curious.
If I did that, I think society would not be happy about that.
Just fall apart.
Yeah. So anyway, then he decides to go to, what is it called? Rhyme City.
Rhyme City.
Yes, he decides to go to Rhyme City to kind of get his dad's affairs in order and stuff like that. And when he gets to Rhyme City, when he's on the train to Rhyme City, he has an encounter with a Pokemon that, when I first showed you, you were very excited. Oh, you're going to tell us the encounter.
Licky Tongue. Whenever Licky Tongue comes across something new, it will unfailingly give it a lick. It does so because it memorizes things by texture and by taste. It is somewhat put off by sour things.
Well, yeah, I guess Tim was probably pretty sour because he was going there for very somber reasons and everything like that. But it's funny because he's like, does this Pokemon belong, does this Licky Tongue belong to anybody or whatever? And yeah, it's kind of funny. So he's on the train. They did a really good job, I was going to say, world building, because when he's sitting on the train, I noticed that it had this little CR on the head guard thing, not like a pillowcase. And I was like, CR, what's that? Because I knew they were going to Rhyme City. And then you see he looks at this little kind of video, and the video actually does a good job of exposition for the audience because it shows you, like, remember, back in the day, Pokemon, but it kind of gives you, like, a history. But the CR was a reference to City Rail. So they spent a lot of time making sure that you were really immersed in this world. And shout out to Jacob, the guy at the Silver Spot Cinema, when we were buying the concession food, because he said, he had already seen it, and he said, I never once looked and thought they're not really there. Like, the Pokemon looked like they were really there the whole movie.
They did.
And I was looking, I was trying, I'm like, there was none of this Green Lantern crap, Ryan. You definitely could tell, or you could not tell, rather, that it was totally seamless, and I was really impressed by that. And it was interesting, I saw in the trivia, when we get more into the trivia, but I saw that they found the guy on the internet. And remember that picture of the Bulbasaur that looked realistic, photorealistic Bulbasaur, like a few years ago?
I think so.
And everybody's like, oh, that is so cool. I think that's the guy. I'm pretty sure that's the guy, because they looked very similar to that style that they came up with. So they did a really good job with this movie. So as far as the plot, he goes there, and then he encounters Pikachu, and then if you've seen the trailers, they show 1,000 times that he can obviously understand Pikachu, and you're not supposed to understand Pokemon. They can kind of understand your feelings, and they can get how you generally, kind of like a pet.
Yeah. But what's the only thing they say?
The only thing they say is their name.
Exactly.
The only thing they say is their name.
Right. And if you think about it, we always joke about like how dumb that is, but like if your cat could literally say its name, you'd be like taking it into the science fair. Look at my cat; it can say its name. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you name your cat Meow, that's kind of lame.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or your dog Wolf.
Woof. Yeah. Hey, my dog's name is Woof. He can say his name. Shut up. Get out of here, you weirdo. As far as the plot goes, he really just wants to take care of his dad's affairs, and his dad was a detective, a cop, and Watanabe. I can't think. Ken Watanabe is in this movie, and he's like a really well-known Asian actor.
Lieutenant Yoshida.
Yeah, he's I guess his partner,
yes.
But his real partner
is
Pikachu.
Person partner.
Right, his person
Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and when he encounters Pikachu, Pikachu's like, I don't remember anything. Like he has amnesia. And, you know, it's one of those convenient plot things in a story where they're like, oh, okay, so we have to kind of build up. But if you like Memento and these kind of movies, it's like that, where you have to piece everything together, so the characters have to piece it together too. So it was interesting that he wanted no part of this. Tim was just like, I don't want any part of any of this crap. But when he gets there, he notices that his dad has made up his room
his childhood room.
Well, like a very welcome place. Like, this is a place that I would really, you know, that he would really like him to live. You can tell it was not just some afterthought kind of thing. He definitely wanted his son there. So Tim feels kind of lousy because after his mom died, he and his dad kind of faded away from each other, and he always felt like his dad never really wanted him around, so he never really reached out to him.
And it's obvious his dad did want him around.
When he gets there, he sees that, and he feels really guilty because his dad is dead, and he's like, oh, this is terrible. I feel like a heel. But then, inexplicably, which is one of these things in movies where you're like, why would you do that? He sees this little vial of purple stuff, and he's like, oh, let me open this. And he opens it, and then...
Yes.
A gas that just, like, it smells bad to him, or he, like, can't, like, he doesn't like the smell of it, but the Pokemon go savage when they smell it.
Right, and some Apoms come in and start messing them up. And it's really funny because Apoms are, like, these cute little...
monkey things.
Monkeys that have hands on the back of their tails.
But this is what I've always said. If Pokemon were real, you wouldn't want to be walking around the street and all of a sudden, like, a gang of Apoms come up on you.
No.
Because they're going to mess you up, man. They're going to hurt you bad.
He ended up having to take his pants off.
Yes, he did.
Or
he did lose his pants.
He took his belt off and they took his pants.
He lost his shirt, he lost his jacket, his belt, and his pants. And then... eventually,
and then they returned his pants.
Yeah, they kind of return his pants after the effect of the purple stuff wears off.
Yep.
So I mean, as far as plot goes, now that he's basically has to team up with Pikachu because Pikachu is very insistent, and he's like,
He's
hey,
like, this is destiny.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff because he's like, nobody can understand Pokemon. This has never happened in the history of the world. This is obviously meant to mean something, and we can't just throw this away. This opportunity. I want to say something right now. We will get into the big spoilers at the end. We'll give you a spoiler warning when we get to that section, but we'll try really hard not to spoil anything. I do the on this day in history, and I did want to say that on this day in history, I had to do a little bit of searching to make it kind of tie into this movie, but I found a really good one. And on May 10th, when this movie came out, May 10th, 1752, I believe. 1752, Benjamin Franklin tests the lightning conductor with his kite-flying experiment. So I figured since, Pikachu has his little lightning bolt, I figured that was an appropriate tie-in to Pokemon. You know about the kite-flying experiment, right,
yes,
Raphael?
Yes.
Yes, of course, where he tries to prove that lightning and string is a conductor or something. I don't know. Or, kids always think, oh, Benjamin Franklin discovered lightning. No, he didn't. But anyway.
Pokemon. Pikachu. Mouse Pokemon. Whenever Pikachu comes across something new, it blasts it with a jolt of electricity. If you come across a blackened berry, it's evidence that this Pokemon mistook its intensity of its charge.
It's funny that it keeps saying whenever these Pokemon come up to something new, they attack, basically.
Yeah.
It's like if people did that, it'd be like, oh, hi, I don't know you. Ah!
Right.
It started I have this really cool power where I can fart projectilely across the room, and I don't know you, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. It's like, oh, I'm glad. I love Pokemon, but I also think, like I said, if they're really in the world, it would be like a non-stop us running for our lives, screaming in the streets. Yeah.
No, I don't think so, because Rhyme City seemed pretty calm.
Yeah.
They all lived harmoniously. Mostly. Yeah, until okay. Yeah, they lived harmoniously. And there was this subplot with, again, like Raphael mentioned in the beginning, there was this subplot with this old guy who had come up with the idea for Rhyme City. And he owns the cops, he owns the press. And
he owns everything.
He owns everything. And he was trying to come up with a cure for some disease that he has that has him in a wheelchair. That's all we know. He has kind of an annoying son that's, an older son.
Roger.
Yeah, Roger. Bill Nighy plays the older guy. So he's like really old. If you've watched Shaun of the Dead, that's Phil. Where they're cheers, Phil. That's what I know him from. But anyway, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's a giant like British actor. Everybody knows who he is over there. So when they get to Rhyme City, it was very similar to me when you think of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like, the tunes are just kind of there with the people and walking around, and it's just kind of normal, you know? It's just very normal to see Pokemon. And everybody had a Pokemon.
Everybody, except for one person.
Well, Tim kind of had a Pokemon, but it was funny because he wouldn't let him get up on his shoulder. Like, a lot of the other people would let their Pokemons ride on them and stuff. But he had, like, these tiny little feet, so there's one scene where he's trying to walk really fast, and he's trying to keep up with them, and he's finally like, you know what? I'm just jumping up on your shoulder. I don't care. Yes. Because I am not going to take 1,000,000 steps for your 100 anymore. This is crazy.
It's okay. If you want me to do 2,000,000 steps in an hour, fine.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna
That's just so little feet.
Yeah, exactly. He's a little mouse.
Like
he's
as big as a Rubik's Cube.
Pokemon.
Which, okay, when I first found out...
He's a pretty big mouse.
When I found out he was a mouse Pokemon, I was kind of like, really? That's what, like, Japanese people think a mouse looks like? They got some weird mice over there, man. I don't know. If I saw a mouse like that, I'd be like, holy hell, look at that yellow mouse with the black tips on it, and it's, like, standing up, and it's like... I'd be like, oh, hell no. And then it shoots lightning at me? Oh, man. That's not good.
Well, they have all those nuclear reactors.
That's true. Japan,
Anyways.
yeah. Anyway.
And it's also future tech, so that would explain why it's lightning.
So now, like, the game is afoot, so to speak. Oh, and he has this cute little hunter deerstalker cap or whatever, like Sherlock Holmes. And
yes.
That's how he knew to go to the house. That was the only thing that he had in the hat was an address.
A name and an address.
Yeah, like Nemo. What was it? Sydney?
42...
I can't remember
Sherman
now.
Way.
Sherman Way.
So they're trying to solve this mystery. What happened to Harry? Because things just don't seem right. And to make matters worse, there's this little detective nosing around. I mean, not a detective, sorry.
A news reporter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A news reporter named Lucy nosing around with her annoying Psyduck.
Oh, yes, Psyduck.
As Pikachu calls a bomb.
Yeah, that's
just
funny.
Just waiting
scene.
to explode.
He's like, yeah, what are the psychological implications of forcing somebody to ride in a baby seat next to a bomb for an hour?
I thought that was funny because when they were on a quest to get information, they put Pikachu in a baby carrier in the car.
Yes,
in the car seat.
He's so tiny. It's
a
funny
mouse.
because it's funny when she introduces herself. He's like, oh yeah, you do all those listicles about like the top 10 cutest Pokemon. She's like, they're all cute. They're all the same. They're all adorable. She's like, it's a stupid job, but I do it. But she had found out something about his father, Harry Goodman, and she was like. He was on some case, and then all of a sudden he just like dies, and then they start saying, "Did anybody see the body?" And it's like, "Whoa!" And they're talking J.J. Abrams time. Because I didn't see a body.
Everybody knows if you haven't seen a body,
they're still alive.
Precisely.
There's a chance.
There's a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yes.
Exactly.
Blah. So they're trying to solve this mystery because this is a detective movie.
Yes.
So they're trying to solve the mystery.
Yep. So they're running around trying to figure out the clues. You had to take off for a second because we yelled at somebody in the audience because they were being
I did not yell.
jerkwads. Well, you told them to kindly shut up.
No, I said, please be quiet.
Yeah, they were having
loudly.
Basically what happened is you had two moms that were there, and they had 8 kids with them, and the moms had basically just taken the kids there to get them out of the house, and you could tell. And the two moms are just having a full-on conversation.
Yes, not whispering, just in loud voices.
Like just a conversation.
Yes.
And they finally got a little quieter, but they never did shut up. They talked the entire movie.
Yes.
The entire movie.
Yes.
And then left their trash.
Yes.
They were I looked. They were the only people in the entire theater that left their trash behind. And
they used a lot. They ate a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
There was pizza crusts left over, just sitting on the trays. It was nasty.
Yeah, we're not those people. We like to clean up after ourselves.
Yes.
So anyway, a little bit of a segue. So then the Mr. Mime scene happened. So when they encounter Mr. Mime, they like press him for information. And then that leads to the underground Pokemon fighting. Because remember, Pokemon... Oh, we didn't talk about that. But Pokemon in Rhyme City are not allowed to fight, and there's no trainers, and there's none of that. Oh, I thought it was
There's
really
no training.
well. It was really cool that they showed when he was on the train. They showed that sequence where they again were giving us exposition, and they showed the what do you call it? The stadium when they were doing the actual battle.
Battle.
That was really cool because I was like, whoa, I would like to see that. And that's something with this movie. There is no mention of any of the other Pokemon stories at all. There's no Ash, there's no Nurse Jenny, there's no any of those other people that you all know.
Yeah, no Bonnie.
Yeah, none of
No,
them.
that weird scientist guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's also other series.
Thanks to science, there's no Team Rocket.
Yeah, no Jesse
There's
or
no
James.
Meow
Meowth.
meow.
I guess this just takes. I mean,
It's its own
its
universe
own
of
thing.
Pokemon.
However, I did read that when we get
20 years ago.
when we get into a little bit of a spoiler stuff, the Mewtwo storyline, there's a moment where they say something about how 20 years ago something happened to this Mewtwo,
yes.
and apparently 20 years ago there was a movie about this Mewtwo, so it is actually canon. So all those things have happened, and we're
Just-
where we're at now. So
Right.
it's like 20 years later.
I guess it's
So
in a
Ash
different
and all that.
region.
So do you think that was Ash in the stadium?
Possibly.
Oh,
Was
wait a
he
minute.
wearing the
Hold
hat?
on. Wait,
I
so
don't remember the
he wasn't
He had a
wearing
hat.
Did I see the stadium? Or
Yeah.
did I miss that?
No, you saw
You
it.
saw that.
Was it after I talked to the lady?
It might have been right around there.
Maybe that's why I missed it.
Oh wait, yeah, I remember that one lady that had the Gyarados and the Growlithe with her. That's one of the gym trainers
Yeah.
earlier on in the series.
Ah.
Right. So was that Ash?
That's probably Ash.
He was older. He was older, so maybe he's like older Ash.
Yeah, because it is 20 years, and
Right.
in the series he's only 16.
I didn't see anything in the trivia about that, so if we can confirm that, we could be the ones. Well,
We
there's
could.
probably a bunch of other people.
Yeah,
We're probably
there's
the
probably-
Pokemon experts of the world.
Probably. But
Yeah.
you never know.
You never know. I would like to think that was Ash. So in my head canon, as we always say on the Star Wars site, in my head canon, that was Ash. So anyway,
I can guarantee you that when this is released on 4K Blu-ray, I will be purchasing this.
oh yeah, this was.
Definitely.
And I remember when the movie first started, with the Cubone scene, I turned right to you and I said, I officially love this movie.
Yes.
Because he attacks him. The little Cubone, because he insults him, and we mentioned this earlier, but when he insults him, the little Cubone starts chasing after him, and I'm like, oh, that's what I've always said. Why wouldn't a Pokemon just like attack? I was like, you're putting me in this ball? Hell with you, kid.
Yes.
So, and he throws his little bone at him, but it's so funny because he's running, and you see the scale, and the
Yes.
Cubone is like down to his ankles. He's
Yes.
so tiny.
And it's so cute when
It's
it
so
runs.
cute. He's like,
He's as big as his foot,
Yes.
yes.
and then
Very
he's like
cute.
run from it.
So there are
He's
over.
wicked fast to Cubone, and then he throws his little bone, and it makes an explosion. 1.5 of the size he is.
Right.
Yeah. So there's 800. There's over 800 Pokemon that exist, and there was only 60 that they used in this movie.
But it seemed like a lot more.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
seemed like they used thousands.
they did a good job again, but with they can only putting 800 of them in, I think that would have been. They would have taken 5 years to make this movie with the photorealistic thing or whatever they did. So it was good. They go to the underground ring, the underground fighting ring.
Yes.
It's like Bloodsport kind of for Pokemon.
No, it's just fighting.
Yeah, we haven't seen Bloodsport because you're a child, and and they see this guy, and Pikachu makes this joke about like, oh, I'd love to see that guy's search history because he looks just like a giant dirtbag. I'll use that word instead of the other word. And he's like the fight coordinator or whatever, and
He's the owner of the place.
right, he's the owner of the place, and he's all mad. I guess 2 of the DJs were people that we should care about in the world.
One was Diplo.
Yeah, Diplo, I'm Diplo, and then the other one was somebody. Oh, I thought it was cool that they had the Explouds doing the
Yes.
the
speakers.
the beats,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, that's so cool. And there was stuff like that, like where they showed the Squirtles putting out fires and stuff.
Yes.
So it was just neat
So
stuff.
they were practical.
Yeah, they were very practical. But anyway, so he's all mad because I guess Pikachu kicked Charizard's butt last time and burned
Yeah.
his jacket, and he was all mad.
Yeah, he like put a giant scar on his Charizard and like ruined his coat.
Yeah,
And it's
ruined-
like
Oh.
on the bottom of his coat, like the very, very bottom of it. And he's like so mad about it.
he wanted a rematch. So he's like, I'll give you information about this the purple stuff, the
The R.
R, if you give me a rematch. or I'll give you information if you rematch me and you beat me, that kind of thing. Yeah, so it turns out that Pikachu has performance anxiety. He can't, like, do his little zappy thing. He can't do anything because he forgot how. Because he's been, you know, he's got amnesia. Yeah, well, yeah, you find that out
Except
later.
he knows to talk and walk, and also know how to read.
And to drink coffee.
He knows how to... Oh, yeah, coffee. He loves coffee for some reason.
He says that he can stop, but I don't think he can.
I don't think he can either. So there's, like, a battle and everything, and, of course, all the purple stuff gets out, and, like, all the Pokemon start going crazy. Because that's what it does. It makes all the Pokemon lose control.
Yep.
Why it's important later on in the movie, that's right.
We won't tell you now.
No, but it gets a little kind of like, really? That's kind of cheesy, but I didn't mind it too much when they explain everything.
Oh, now I understand why.
It was kind of like Zootopia, where they had the... But Zootopia made more sense to me why they wanted that, because they were trying to drive a certain political agenda.
Yes.
And this one, it was like, when we get to it, it's like, okay, there's science behind it.
I'll tell you why it works like that soon. Once we're at that scene, because I don't want to give a spoiler.
Yeah, when we talk about that, we'll talk about that. So, then they have the battle and everything, and they get a lead, and they just found out that there's a doctor, and then the doctor is Rita Ora, I think.
Yes.
And she has no lines in the movie. I know she has one line in the movie. You hear her voice at the very beginning of the movie, and when they're telling the story about what's happened. She's only in flashbacks, basically.
Yes.
And from what looks like what happened to her, she probably died, because if you had thousands of shards of glass shooting at you,
yes,
it's gonna go into you and kill you. It's not like in the cartoons.
Well, she was in water.
I don't know. I don't think that'll be something for other people to determine, but I think she did. She did.
Well, yeah, because she would have been in the movie if she was still alive.
I would think so.
Well, did you see a body?
Yeah, I didn't see a body. That is true. They could always leave room for a sequel. But anyway, so now they have gotten that information, and then they do some more digging, and they discover that the old guy has this facility that does like genetic testing and stuff like that. This is her girl Friday, whatever her name is, you know it, the reporter. She starts palling around.
Lucy Stevens.
She starts palling around with Tim, and that was when they go on their little car ride. And let's talk about this car. It is only a car in name.
It was even smaller than a smart car.
It was smaller than a smart car. It was hilarious, and you have Psyduck and Pikachu in the back. Again, this is where Pikachu's in the baby carriage. Baby seat, not carriage. the
car seat.
The car seat, yeah. And Psyduck is like basically saying, "You better rub my feet or I'm gonna explode." So he's like holding them, he's like hostage for the fact that at any moment he could just explode, which is kind of like a manipulative, abusive relationship kind of thing. Like, you better do this or I'm going to lose my mind, They're in the little car, and they get out of the car, and Pikachu is trying to give the kid advice, and he's like, "Hey, you want some advice? You need to go head on and go right up in there and show her that you're, not afraid." And while they're doing that, she's already out of the car, and she's already got, like, the bolt cutters, like, yes. Like, she's going, and he's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm going in there, like, that's why I'm here." So it's kind of funny. And they get in there, and they stumble onto some things that they shouldn't have, and then
experiments.
Right.
Like the good ninjas were given like extra powers, and then there are the Terra things. Terratops.
Now the Terratops are interesting. I don't want to give that away because that was something that I did not see coming.
Yeah, and it's like growth, and they're like those look like normal sized Terratops to me.
Yes, so they're doing different experiments on the and I think there was opportunity in this scene with the 800 other Pokemon where they could have shown some more stuff, but again, I think that would have been a little too much for them with what they had going on in the movie. They escape, obviously, and they got some more information. I don't remember what information they gleaned there, but they got more information that led them to know that the old guy was...
No, Pikachu got injured.
Oh, that's right. He got injured in that scene. That's right. He got almost gravely, mortally injured, and I almost said Ash. Tim goes with
And
some
the
Bulbasaur. Yes.
The Bulbasaurs lead him somewhere.
Yes, that was your favorite scene, so I'll let you talk about your
I loved
favorite
all
scene.
the Bulbasaurs. The Bulbasaur came, and Tim was pleading with them to bring him to a Pikachu. Sorry, not a Pikachu.
A healer.
A healing center. And I got excited because I thought we were going to see Nurse Jenny with a Wigglytuff.
Yes.
The evolve of Jigglypuff right here.
Yes,
who's always watching you.
Exactly. But instead, the Bulbasaur left, and then it was very sad because Tim was very disappointed. You could see it in his face.
Well, yeah, because he thought Pikachu was going to die.
Exactly. But then the Bulbasaur came back with a whole pack of Bulbasaurs, and then they all led him through the forest, and then these other... What were the other ones?
They're like little blue floating blue things.
Okay, so they're like they're called the fungus Pokemon. They're mushrooms essentially.
I don't know what they're called.
So then the Bulbasaurs and those mushroom glowy things were leading them to this place, which was unfortunately not a healing center, but Pikachu ended up getting healed.
Yeah, he did, and then you find out a little bit more about the twist that's coming at the end based on what happens when he gets healed there. So we're gonna start doing the spoilers here. I'm gonna do the thing. This is the spoiler alert.
There you go.
That's the spoiler.
Yeah, that's a good spoiler alert. Spoilers are coming.
Chemical R is made from Mewtwo.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, okay, I'll talk about it later on, but remember this, Chemical R is made from Mewtwo.
That was the big thing they got. That was the big piece of information. So, that's what happened. It's Mewtwo that comes, and he says, you kept your end of the bargain, you brought me the boy. The son. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And then, like, Mewtwo, like, heals Pikachu, and right away you're like, well, that's kind of weird. Why would Mewtwo, if they showed Mewtwo being a bad guy in the beginning, why all of a sudden is he healing Pikachu? Why wouldn't he just let him die? Because that's what he tried to do in the beginning, was kill him. Or so you think. And that's where you find out that there's more going on with Mewtwo than you realized. And now Mewtwo, you tell me about Mewtwo. Tell the people about Mewtwo, Raphael. What you know about Mewtwo before the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I know about Mewtwo is that he's the legendary Pokemon. He's his only kind, and he's one of the most powerful Pokemon to exist in the Pokemon world, and he's basically essentially a god to Pokemon. So
he is the rarest Pokemon to get, too, right? Like, if you have Mewtwo...
Essentially, nothing can defeat you if you're Mewtwo.
Aha.
If you have Mewtwo. But there's one Pokemon that can... Though there's 5 legendaries that can defeat Mewtwo.
Okay.
But they don't really stand a chance. They can defeat him, but they have to be at like a super high, like they basically have to be raged, like super raged before they can beat Mewtwo.
Okay, I gotcha. So you find out that there's more going on, like I said, with Mewtwo than meets the eye. Then they encounter the old guy, I think, and the old guy says, "Oh, my son is evil, and he's like forcing me to make the R, and use it because he wants to destroy all." Oh, that's right. He resents me because I've been fascinated with. I've been trying to get Pokemon, the evolutionary power of Pokemon, to basically be able to evolve from this the disease that he has, and he's been spending his whole life trying to do that. And so his son has resented Pokemon, so he decided there's gonna be this big parade. I'm going to turn this purple stuff loose and have all the Pokemon kill the people, and then people will be like, "Oh yeah, Pokemon suck. I don't want to be around Pokemon anymore." And that would be like his revenge on his dad. That's what his dad is telling Tim and Catherine.
Detective
Pikachu.
Lucy. Sorry, why do I keep calling? I think the actress's name is Catherine.
Her name is Catherine in real life.
That's why.
Kathy.
That's pretty much it for
that scene.
Well, that's pretty much it, really. And then they have like all the machinations to get them to the end where they're trying to fight off the bad guys, right? I'm not going to give that away. I'm not going to give the one thing away that when you find out a certain thing, because I'm not giving that away at all.
And then Pikachu gets fatally injured, but then Mewtwo is captured by the sun.
That's right. So anyway, you do find out we can say this: you do find out that the son was blameless because he's in the closet. His dad is the evil mastermind.
Yes.
You know, spoilers. Shocker. It wasn't that shocking because...
No, it was kind of obvious.
Because Bill Nighy is, like, a big actor, and that other guy is some squirrely-looking guy that's only been in, like, 5 things. So...
He was on Modern Family. He was the detective.
Wait, he wasn't...
not the detective.
He wasn't the one that's like, I love you and I'm going to marry you. It was him?
Yeah, he was the professor.
Oh, no, I like
British
him.
professor.
I like
Yes.
him. Oh, I feel like bad now
Now
that
you
I
feel
said he's
bad.
squirrel
Yeah.
face. He does have a squirrel
Now you should
face,
say
though.
sorry on Twitters.
I'm so
always
I'm
do.
so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to offend you. I'm so sorry.
He was dating, Alex liked him, and he was dating
Oh, that was so
the
funny.
other girl.
Because he was only...
The one that just had the babies.
God, you don't know their names? It's like one of your favorite shows.
I know, and I can't think of her name.
Sarah Hyland.
Yeah, but what's our character's name? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking out.
That's so bad.
I know,
so
it's
bad.
horrible.
It's so horrible. Modern Family is gonna find
Modern
you.
Family's gonna come get
and
me.
get you.
Haley.
Haley, that's it. Like the comet. Anyway.
Yes.
This is the weird thing. This is where I said I would talk about it. So this is the weird part. The reason that he was making this purple stuff is that it would allow the Pokemon to be, like, vulnerable because they wouldn't be able to control themselves, and then he was going to use that vulnerability to fuse the people with their Pokemon and basically have them live inside the Pokemon.
Yeah,
So-
that was weird.
And it does happen. There's a scene where it does happen, where all these people get like sucked into the Pokemon, and it's interesting when that happens because there's nothing but just Pokemon on the streets all of a sudden.
Yes.
Oh, and I did see in the trivia, and I did catch this when I was watching it. There's kind of an allusion or a nod to the Batman, the first Batman,
Yes.
with the gas being released by the balloons, and I was like, oh, this is just like Batman, and then
Yep.
definitely. And that's how they like release the R, chemical R or whatever they call it.
Yeah, and I figured out why it was happening. It's because they have Mewtwo DNA inside of them.
Right.
And Mewtwo can...
Mutate. That's probably why he's called
No,
Mew.
he's called Mewtwo because there's 2, like, forms of him, kinda. There's Mewtwo and there's another one named Mew.
Right.
And, like...
I have a Mew.
Yeah.
and... you don't have to boast about it.
Yes, she does. You boast about all your weird ones.
I know, but that's because you guys have them all. And I just want to be like, hey, I have some cool ones too. But you guys have, like, literally all of them.
No, I don't. I definitely don't.
Well,
I only have 406.
I have 396, so... Anyway,
And Joseph has them all.
Joseph does have them all. It's so funny because...
I'm pretty sure he even has Mewtwo.
That's Madison's brother, and Raphael's always like, tell him I have this one, and then Joseph's like, yeah, I have that one, because he wants to have one that Joseph doesn't have. You know, it's just that thing when you're a kid and you want to, like, one-up an adult. It's funny. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah,
he's
they
called
fuse
Mewtwo
together.
because they can, like, turn into one, and they're, like, the super being, and in
Ah.
the Pokemon cards, it's known as Mewtwo XY.
Okay, so then it makes sense why that would work, because I didn't get that. I'm like, I thought it just made them go crazy. Ah! That wouldn't make it easy all of a sudden where you could fuse the people. So they do get fused. That does happen. Pikachu is like flying on one of the flying type Pokemon, and he's like going through a
The
cloud
third stage
of it.
of the Pidgey.
Yeah, he's going through a cloud, and he's like, hold your breath, and then the thing, he's like, oh crap, you didn't hold your breath, and then he like goes
A
crazy.
Pidgeot.
Pidgeotto or Pidgeot?
Pidgeot.
Pidgeot. And then he like falls, and he hurts himself, but he doesn't. No, that's right, he doesn't die. There's a scene where he's falling. Is that the scene where he's falling almost to his death? No, that's later on.
That's
the end.
later.
Yeah,
he
he
falls
jumps-
onto the roof.
Yeah, he jumps onto the satellite dish and he keeps going satellite dish to satellite dish, and then he's like, oh yeah, and then he's like, oh no, and then he's like on the building, like kind of like defeated.
Oh, that's right. And then the distraction. Because I remember thinking, why don't they just take that stupid thing away from that old man?
And
He's
that's
like
what-
this old man, and then that's his
That's what
henchman. His henchman is...
We're not gonna say who it
preventing-
is.
right, we won't say that.
You should watch the movie and you'll find out who the henchman
Yeah, you'll
is.
figure
it's
it
not
out.
Jigglypuff, people, okay? Even though he is always watching.
Yeah.
He is always watching people.
He's always
He's
watching.
watching
he's got his-
Santa, he's watching you in your sleep.
Yeah, he's got his little marker, and he's going to draw on your face.
Like in the show.
True, I saw a documentary about it.
She did. What? Okay, so when you first started playing Pokemon, there were several ones that you liked. but there have been none that you liked as much as Jigglypuff. And when you saw the video, you were so happy about it.
Yes.
Because you were like, oh my god, do you know? And I didn't know. I was just like, we just started playing, and I didn't know. I like told you about the licky tongue, because I'm like, oh my god, you gotta see this licky tongue thing, it's crazy. But then when you looked at the video, you saw that he sings karaoke.
Yes.
And makes people fall asleep.
They fall asleep.
And then he has his little marker that's really his microphone, and it like draws on their
And he
face.
draws on their faces.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
So apparently in the scene with Jigglypuff in this movie, there is a very big singer cameo, but you would not know it's him unless you were really looking.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It was Phil Collins.
Apparently Phil Collins is in that scene, so I think that's a nice tribute, because he's an amazing singer.
Right.
And Jigglypuff is also an amazing singer. So, kudos to him, or her, or whatever the heck it is.
And also, parents, if you have a marker on your face, it's Jigglypuff, not your kids. Jigglypuff.
Okay. Well, if you draw on my face, there's going to be trouble.
It's going to be Jigglypuff.
It's Jigglypuff.
Oh, you guys, I set you up. If you draw on my face, there's going to be trouble.
Oh, Team Rocket!
Jesse.
And James.
Prepare for double.
Prepare for double.
There you go.
So it's prepare for trouble. Make that double.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway.
I
So
haven't watched that in a while.
yeah, it's been a while since we watched it. So the end. No. That's the way the movie ends. All right, now we're going to get into a major spoiler. If you have not seen this movie, you might want to turn it off right now
And watch
come
this
back
movie.
and listen to the end of our podcast after you have watched
seen
the movie.
the movie.
Yes. Okay, so remember that Mewtwo confused people. Not confuse. He can fuse people.
And also confuse.
And Pokemon. Yeah, he does confuse people too. He confuses
That's actually how in the chemical art works. It really just confuses the Pokemon, makes them angry.
Right. They lose their free will,
Yeah.
and then they go angry because they lose their free will, and then they do whatever they want, which is kind of what free will is. So anyway, you find out. Dun dun dun. And I knew this was coming because they never show. Every time they would show a flashback of Tim's father, I was like, why aren't they showing his face? Oh, because it's gonna be Ryan Reynolds. That's why, and they don't want to show Ryan Reynolds because he's the voice. And then it dawned on me, that's his dad. His dad was fused with Pikachu. So the whole time he has been running around with his dad, who he is estranged from, and bonding with his dad, and not realizing, neither of them realizing, because his dad had his memory wiped out. That was kind of the deal that Mewtwo made with him. And then you also find out that Mewtwo did not attack the car.
It was Greninja.
Greninjas, and he was actually trying to stop them from attacking.
Yeah, he attacked the Greninjas, but the camera made it look like he really like the angle it looked from. It made it look like Mewtwo attacked the car.
Oh, they also had this cool thing when you talk about archive with cameras. They had this neat thing, this gimmick in the movie where when they were looking at old file footage, it would show like holograms wherever you were, kind of thing, and they would show the, it was basically just the scene in the movie, but it was cool how they did it. You have to watch the movie to see what I'm talking about. It's really almost impossible to explain.
Okay, so VR? It's basically like being in that without wearing a VR headset.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And it's also easier to interact with. But you can't pick anything up. You teleport.
Yeah. That was like the major reveal, is that it's his dad, and then at the very end you actually see Ryan Reynolds. Old Ryan Reynolds. He looked like an old man, kind of. He
was a dad.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense. He was an older guy, and he's got like this ticket for him to go back to insurance job or wherever the hell that was.
Yes, which made me mad. Why would somebody leave that place?
What, insurance?
No, Rhyme City.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Why would you leave Rhyme City to go back to insurance?
If you were fought by a crazy Pokemon that looks super small and cute, I think you would want to leave. And also if you were attacked by a Mewtwo.
Yeah, so
a god, essentially.
He does obviously stay with his dad because he's not a complete tool. So he stays with his dad, and that's the way the movie ends. So now let's talk about our favorite scene. So, Raphael, you go first. What was your favorite scene of this movie that we just
The
saw?
little cube chasing him as big as little foot.
Yeah, that was a good one. What about you, Madison?
I like the part with all the Bulbasaurs.
The part with the Bulbasaurs?
Yeah, when they were leading Tim through the forest to help
Yes.
injured Pikachu.
Yes. I think my favorite scene is the scene that I cannot talk about. I will just say that it has to do with the henchman for the old guy, and I'll leave it at that. It's very cool, and it's something that I didn't see coming, and I was like, oh, that would be a really handy henchman to have. I'll just say that. As far as henchmen go, that's
That
the
is
one
awesome.
to have. Yeah.
Like, if you just have 5 of those, then you're just, like, invincible.
Yeah, pretty much. So, my least favorite scene, I had to kind of really think hard on what my least favorite scene was, because I really didn't have any scenes that I was rolling my eyes or being like, this is going. I did almost fall asleep a couple times, because that's because it's so comfortable at Silver Spot Cinema. The chairs are really comfortable, and apparently now they're going to have beds. Yeah, not at Silver Spot necessarily, but one of the major theater chains is going to have beds. It's going to be nearly impossible to stay awake, I think. Unless you're watching like a flat-out action.
Super good movie.
Yeah, or something that just totally keeps your attention. So yeah, I was getting kind of like, oh crap. But I never lost consciousness. I was awake the whole time. I'm not saying this was a boring movie at all. And I really didn't find any fault with it at all. I thought that everything that was in it made sense. I appreciated it. There was some stuff for the adults too. It wasn't just for kids. I know kids definitely liked it. It kept their attention the whole time. There wasn't a lot of slow parts where it was like, oh, this is boring and stupid. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't really have too many gripes. So what about you, Raphael? What was your least favorite scene?
When Pikachu was dying.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say that one too.
Yeah, that was pretty sad.
But again, we kind of knew he wasn't really gonna die.
Yeah.
But when you find out that his dad was Pikachu, and then they split, and now he's back to Pikachu, were you kind of sad that like Pikachu is now just like regular Pikachu?
Yes.
No,
He wasn't
it's
like
sad.
special cool supers.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a little sad. I was like, oh.
He's just gonna say
He just
Pika
kept
now.
And now he's not gonna drink coffee.
Yes.
Yes, his dad will have to drink all the coffee. So, that was another clue. Apparently, there was a couple clues, like when he said Dame, because I guess his dad was a detective. There was a couple little clues that they threw in there, because they had the Angels with Filthy Souls from Home Alone. Yes. And again, he's into the old time movies and stuff like that. So that was clues that it was his dad the whole time. But apparently, the voice of Pikachu is the actual voice. This Japanese lady who's for years. I think they did a really good job with this. I was really surprised that Ryan Reynolds was on board for this movie, just because I never would have like pegged him for liking Pokemon. But
He has kids.
yeah, he does. And I didn't tell you guys. I know what the secret word is. I didn't tell you what it was, but I know we've used it about 100 times.
Is it Pikachu?
It's Pokemon.
Oh, Pokemon.
I looked it up on dictionary.com. It's a word. It is an official word on dictionary.com.
What?
Yeah, so there you go. I can read the definition real quick. And then we will say
Monster?
who we would
Prefer.
pair up with. So hopefully you've been thinking about that a little bit, because I haven't.
Better think.
Trademark. Pokemon trademark, a media franchise including video games, animated television series, movies, card games, etc. that depict a fictional class of pet monsters and their trainers. Also a pet monster in this fictional world. So there you go. It's actually in the dictionary now, so that's pretty cool.
Hey.
So who would you pair up with if you could only pair up with one Pokemon for the rest of your life? Not a legendary, because it has to be one of the ones that was in the movie. There's only like 60 in the movie, so which one would it be from the movie?
Mewtwo.
Mewtwo? What about you, Madison?
Obviously, the answer is Jigglypuff.
Obviously, the answer is Jigglypuff. I like that. That was from was that Quiz Show or one of the movies where they say that, like, obviously? What was that?
I don't know. I got it from my head.
What movie was that?
I know there's a movie that says that, but I can't remember it.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me look at my Pokemon real quick here. I would have to say Okay, thank you, Jigglypuff. We've heard enough from you right now. Thank you very much, though. I would probably have to say Exploud. He's not a legendary, is he?
I veto that.
You veto?
Yes.
Why? Because he's...
Read the description.
Aloud.
Listen to this wonderful music while you wait. This is looking up the Pokemon music. You're gonna get there before I do, probably. What region is it in? I'm in the Hoon region now. Is that it? The Hoon region? There it is. Alright. This is the Exploud. Loud noise Pokemon. How is this not my perfect Pokemon? Exploud triggers earthquakes with the tremors it creates by bellowing. If this Pokemon violently inhales from the ports on its body, it's a sign that it is preparing to let loose a huge bellow.
I am not living with that.
Oh, you don't want to live with it. You already live with it.
But it's Exploud isn't in the movie. It's stage before that is.
Okay, so then that would be the Loudred. I'm going to look at the Loudred right now. Big voice Pokemon. Loudred's bellowing can completely decimate a wood frame house. It uses its voice to punish its foes. This Pokemon's round ears serve as loudspeakers. That is so me. We were at a screening for Insidious years ago, and there were all these teenagers, and they were talking so loud, and I used to be a singer, and I know how to speak. I know how to be very loud. And when I was in boot camp, I had a drill instructor get up in my face and start screaming at me. And he said, sound off, sound off, sound off. And I finally went, all right. And I used my little singing trick. And he just kind of blinked and he looked right at me and he said, singer, huh? And I said, sir, yes, sir. And he said, I'll never ask you to sound off again. And he walked right away. So, yeah, I can be loud when I want to be. So, yeah, Loudred is totally me. I never shut up, and I'm loud. I don't even need speakers when I'm doing presentations or any of that crap. I don't even need a speaker now.
Either.
I could be over there, and you could hear me perfectly over here. I could be over there. I could be up there. I could be anywhere.
Sure. So you could be in the other room.
All right. Did you tell us yours? Yeah. Mewtwo, you said.
Yeah, but wait. Can I say one that's outside of the movie?
Sure.
Rayquaza. Wait, no, he is the movie. His poster. So yeah,
Rayquaza.
Rayquaza.
I saw it.
Poster. Well, tell me why Rayquaza.
Because it's his favorite.
Okay, he's.
How do you spell that? What is it? How does that?
I don't know. It's
R?
RAQ.
If you can't spell it, you can't have it.
Oh,
burn.
Spelling burn.
Well, I don't look up how to spell their name. Do you know how many that I have looked at and I've forgotten all their names? Okay, I've looked through more than 1,000 Pokemon.
I thought there were only 800.
There's a
nope, sister. Nope.
That is your stepmother, not your sister, just so you know.
I know.
Leia is your sister.
Yeah, Leia the cat is your sister. Your fur sister. So, I mean, that pretty much concludes our podcast. We gave you our secret word of the day. We gave you our On This Day in History. We will be doing the next podcast episode will be a she-pick that we have watched. We have to record that soon. We did watch that, though, but we have to record for that episode. And then the next one will be a he-pick. And we'll keep doing that, obviously, the he-pick and the she-pick. But every once in a while, when a movie like Detective Pikachu comes along, we like to take the opportunity to go ahead and record one of those with Raphael.
A very special episode.
Yeah, this is another very special episode, yes.
Like it's a very special episode.
Yeah, just like Endgame.
Yes.
So we thank you very much for listening. This is, again, this is the Film Grouch Show, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Film Grouch, and you can find Madison on Twitter at Movie Princess, and you can find her on Instagram at JennyB78, and apparently we're about to hear from somebody else. You know what's really fun is when that like sets off at 3 o'clock in the morning and you are sleeping and all of a sudden you just hear Jigglypuff. That's great. That's fun. So anyway, thank you very much for listening. Definitely go ahead and subscribe and rate us as high because we would love that. We'd definitely like you to tell your friends about us, tell your parents, tell random people on the street. Don't tell your enemies because we have enough of those as it is. So thank you very much. Everybody want to go ahead and say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.